The grabber is back. Stay away from black vans. Hi everybody, Anthony here from Awesome Anthony Productions, and today we're continuing Spooktober with my review of the follow-up to Scott Derrickson's 2022 supernatural thriller, Black Phone 2. But before we get started, please leave a like, and at the end of the video, if you think I've earned it, please subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified whenever I post. Now on to the review. Picking up 4 years after the original in 1982, Black Phone 2 catches us up with a protagonist from the first movie, Finney Blake, played by Mason Thames, and his sister Gwen, played by Madeline McGraw. Finney, who was getting a daily serving of ass beating in the first movie, is now still pretty withdrawn, even if he is now the toughest guy in school. We literally pick up with him mid-knocking some dude's teeth out. He's also a complete stoner, which is understandable given the horrifying experience that he went through at such a young age. Gwen? She's withdrawn too, but in a different way to Finn. She's lonely, mocked, and the only one that's really nice to her besides Finn, being the younger brother of the late Robin from the first movie, who, funnily enough, is also played by Miguel Mora. Finn and Gwen's dad, once again played by Jeremy Davies, has turned a new leaf and has been sober since the events of the first movie. So, for the most part, things seem okay, right? Well, that's just the perfect time for Gwen to start having her psychic dreams about a winter campground, 3 missing kids, and a mysterious woman, right? Unable to move on from those dreams, Gwen, Finney, and Ernesto, for some reason, all head to that winter camp to solve the mystery. Oh, and there's one more thing. A black phone's ringing again, and who's on the other side? The grabber. And he's ready to get revenge on Finney by attacking Gwen with everything he's got the second that she falls asleep. Yeah, baby, we're going full Nightmare on Elm Street with this one. The Black Phone was one of my favorite horror movies of 2022, but the ending was pretty finite. So when a sequel was announced, to say the least, I was very confused. But the direction they took this in, I thought it was awesome. First off, when picking back up with the characters and their stories, everything felt like a very natural progression from where we left it at the end of the first one. Finn's whole arc in that first movie concerned him finally learning to fight back and stand up for himself. Combine that with a hefty dose of trauma from, being abducted, held against his will, and almost killed at 13 years old, and it makes sense that he's now a bit of a paranoid stoner with some tendencies towards anger and violence. His arc here is centered around him working through that trauma, and helping him and Gwen become best friends again, and I think it's all great stuff. I said it back in 2022 that Mason Thames was one to watch out for. In between these movies and How to Train Your Dragon, I still think he's one of the better young actors out there. Here, once again, he handles fear, anger, raw emotion, and even some humor incredibly well, and it all feels very natural. As for Madeline McGraw, even with more of a loner, sadder aura to her this time, Gwen is still a feisty ball of insults and psychic visions. And the movie actually wisely shifts her to being more of the main character this time instead of Finn, even though they share a lot of screen time. Gwen's psychic visions, though occasionally just feeling like a convenient plot device, were absolutely jaw-dropping here. Just like the first movie and the home movies from Derrickson's movie Sinister, Gwen's dreams and vision sequences are all shot with Super 8 cameras, and seeing that grainy, choppy footage mixed up with some truly horrific or eerie visuals, man, it works so well. And I won't spoil exactly what happens, but at one point the scale tips just a bit more towards Gwen's favor, and I was practically ready to cheer in the audience. She's not just a plot device though that brings in the visions and supernatural stuff. She has an arc just like Finn. She has some standout emotional moments in the script here too. And not only was her dialogue solid, except for one scene going into the third act that got a little goofy for me, but McGraw absolutely gives it her all. She also has solid chemistry with Miguel Mora's Ernesto, who when we meet them are friends on the verge of a romance. I thought it was played off well and naturally, but outside of a solid scene with Finn, I really thought that Ernesto's only purpose was just to be a love interest for Gwen, and he could have used a bit more beefing up in the story. That goes for the rest of the cast, aside from Jeremy Davies, who, though Finn and Gwen's dad isn't in the movie much, has such a surprisingly loving and supporting presence compared to the first movie that I thought it was very well done. But everyone else at the winter camp, look, all the actors do great jobs in their roles, but they really don't have much in the way of writing to make them stand out besides just being caricatures. Like the super judgy Christian Karen and her husband that doesn't say a word to her, or the stubborn and outspoken young cowgirl. They add some interesting dialogue, some exposition on key plot points, and more potential victims of the grabber, but outside of that, they really don't have much of a reason to be here. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention the real fucking standout in this movie, who manages to be even creepier here than the first one. Ethan Hawke is the grabber. Hawke takes what was already a soft voice, unpredictable, and iconic metaphor for abuse and makes him straight up unhinged here. Taking the Freddy Krueger approach to bringing him back really ups the creep factor here. Hawke just gets lost in this character, portraying so much boiling rage while still maintaining that unpredictability that makes his character so effective. He doesn't show up until about halfway into the movie, but the mystery and character journeys are so effective here, I didn't really feel it and just got excited when I heard him finally speak through the black phone. The film is also pretty scary at points points to, while managing to be a lot more fun than the first one, with more scenes of violence or some of the scenes with Gwen and the Grabber later in the movie. Also, just a few random things I wanted to point out that I couldn't find a place to work in my script. I love the idea that the hell that the Grabber's been in since the first movie is made of ice, not fire. It's just such an interesting concept to me that really does sound like a hell in its own unique way. The Grabber has ice skates now, something that was simultaneously hilarious and terrifying. And lastly, Jeremy Davies is so good here. He has one scene in particular that had me choking back tears. All of this builds up to a truly exciting and cathartic ending just like the first movie, and I can honestly say it left me excited for a third movie if Derrickson decides to do it. Overall, this is a solid sequel to a great horror film with standout performances from Mason Thames, Madeline McGraw, and Ethan Hawke, strong scares, a surprising amount of laughs, and a story that changes the formula just enough to keep things fresh and interesting, while holding firm to what made that first movie work so well and paying loving homage to the icons that came before it. And that's my review of Black Phone 2. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this review, you know exactly what to do. Please leave a like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to be notified whenever I post a new review. While you're at it, you can scroll down in the description below, find the links to my socials, leave a comment, let me know if you saw Black Phone 2 and what you thought. And if you want more of my content, you can click or tap on these cards right here. I'll take you to my review of Roofman, or just over to my channel where you can check out the rest of my reviews. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time for my review of Shelby Oaks.